Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Jennifer here with the Rahab Center. So today I wanted to bring you guys Kimberly Lovejoy. We've just recently met, but she has a great heart for what is going on here in Colorado. So parents, if you are watching this and you have little ones around, you may want to ask them to leave the room. We are going to be discussing pornography today. So I would just ask that you use caution watching this in front of children. So that is your one and only warning you will get about the video. So let me introduce you guys to Kimberly. So she created Porn Free Colorado because at 8 years of age, she was introduced to pornography. When I read that, my heart just broke. I just couldn't even imagine that. I have an 8-year-old at home. So Kimberly just really has a heart and a passion for educating parents on how we can know how this is happening and the steps we need to take. So I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly and let her tell you more about her mission and how she can help us as parents. So Kimberly, go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. It is such a pleasure to be here with you today. And I love what y'all are doing at Rahab. It is such an important mission. And I truly believe that moms have the most important job in the world. And especially as we're coming into Mother's Day, just to honor you because your job is so important as you're raising this next generation of world changers. So thank you for that. And yeah, my story, just like Jennifer said, is not all too uncommon. So we know the research now says that the average age of exposure to pornography is between 8 and 11 years old, depending on which study you're looking at. And so if that's the average, we know that kids a lot younger than that are being exposed. And so I hear from parents of 4 and 5-year-olds who were playing video games or on a cartoon or on a kids app like YouTube Kids, or maybe they've gotten on an older sibling's social media account in any number of different ways. But the reality is that the predators and pedophiles are lurking online 24/7, and they're looking for your kids. And so my heart, just out of my own story, was to help educate parents and trusted adults on how do we create an actionable plan so our kids know what to do when they see pornography and how they can train their brains, guard their hearts, and use their voices through this 3-step action plan that I created that is really simple, that any child I start with the ages of 4 and up can use to really articulate what to do when they see pornography. Because the reality is, it is estimated to be 1/3 of the internet. And so really know that this is an issue that we have to address. And mamas, you have that mama bear instinct in you. And so I want to just link arms with every mom and say, I believe in you and I want to help empower you, because I didn't have a parent or 2 parents to help educate me on what some of these dangers were. So this is where I'm coming from.
So I understand, Kimberly, that you wrote some books to help parents understand this. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, I did. In fact, I went back to 8-year-old me and I said, what would have helped me? Because when I was 8 and I desperately wanted to fit in, I mean, what little girl doesn't want to fit in? And I was a tomboy and I hung out with the boys. And if there was anything I could have done to fit in, I did it. And when I saw my first Playboy magazine, it was as if pornography got its hook in my heart and literally pulled me down a path, down a route of sexual exploitation and abuse that almost ended in my death. And it was like the script was written for me. And so I thought, what would 8-year-old me have needed to help make my life turn out differently than it did? And so I thought, gosh, if my parents would have had a resource like a book to help me understand what is, this breathtaking, beautiful gift of sex that God's given us, and what is this cheap counterfeit that is offered by pornography, and what are the differences between, respect and intimacy and love and really coming together in that beautiful gift of sex versus what pornography is portraying, which now, the the estimates are that the majority of pornography is violent, degrading, dehumanizing, racist, and it's just all kinds of negative messages about sex that we really need to take authority over and step into that. So when I wrote my books, I wrote them at a developmentally appropriate age. So 4 to 7 is Be Careful Little Eyes. And that one really talks about, helping through a 3-step action plan of how do we train our brains to know what to do when we see it? How do we use our voices? And how do we protect our hearts and our bodies? And it's all based on biblical truths that are right out of Proverbs. So any child 4 to 7 can understand that. And it's meant to, have a parent reading it with the child, asking them really thought-provoking questions about perhaps they've been exposed already and how can they help open that conversation with a trusted adult like a mom or a dad, or a teacher or a grandparent. And then the second book is called A Dangerous Trap, and that's for 8 to 12-year-olds. And that one is coming out soon. It's in pre-order status now. I moved the date a little bit just because of everything that was going on in the world. But I wanted parents to have tools to help have these conversations, because we know the reality is if we can work in prevention and get to our children and educate them with an actionable plan that any child can personalize to themselves, before they see pornography, it's going to save a lifetime of heartache on the other end, because we're seeing pornography addiction is destroying kids, it's destroying marriages, it's destroying businesses. It's, a lot of people don't understand how it's hijacking our brains, our hearts, and our bodies and our society to the point where people are actually taking their lives because of their involvement with pornography. And I can't have that happen. So I had to step in that space and help give you some tools.
Well, that's great. Now, I know we talked about it a little bit, about it being on like even YouTube Kids, video games. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think as parents, we just sometimes think, oh, it's a Playboy magazine, or it's a Playgirl magazine, or it's a video that you get from the store, that we're not seeing the full picture. So can you talk a little bit about that so parents are aware of where all this is coming through?
Yeah, absolutely. With this technological age that we live in, I mean, obviously I'm a little bit older, and so when I saw pornography the first time, it was a magazine. Nowadays, you don't go to a video store. Everybody has one of these. And what we say, and we kind of facetiously say porn in your pocket, but every child that has a smartphone, that has a tablet, that has a gaming system literally has 24/7 access to this 24/7. I mean, this literal unending stream of pornography. And predators are literally scouring the internet looking for vulnerabilities. So a lot of times they'll come in to, if your child's on a system where they're playing a video game with somebody on the other end, like in those virtual realms where you can be in Colorado and somebody can be in Canada, they might pretend they're a kid that's, goes to your school even, and they're actually a predator. And so we know that there are instances of child sex trafficking in Colorado, even in Grand Junction, and we know that predators are looking for those vulnerabilities. And I hate to say, a lot of times, especially in single parent homes where there's a single mom, they're looking for a way to get access to your kids. And so we really have to put those protective walls up and say, what type of, not just an external filter, we have wonderful resources like Bark, and we have Covenant Eyes, and we have all these great filters that we can use. But until our children have that internal filter that teaches them what to do and how to talk about what's happened to them, predators know that it is very easy to manipulate children and to teach them to stay silent. So they'll come into these video games or cartoons and they'll expose themselves, or sometimes it's even a cartoon pornography. And so children don't have the verbiage to be able to articulate what they've seen. And so until parents help them understand, like, this is not okay what's being shown to you, children will struggle with this physiological response that may be excitement or even pleasure, because we're wired sexually. And that's awakened inappropriately at a very young age. They struggle with this idea of, I'm excited by what I'm seeing, but I'm also repulsed by what I'm seeing because they don't think it's okay, but I don't know how to articulate this. So this is why parents have to come in and help children understand, like, this is what healthy, loving intimacy between, two parents, like loving mom and dad, looks like, versus this somebody exposing themselves to you through a video game or through a cartoon, or even if it is cartoon, that's unfortunately one of the most popular categories of pornography is cartoon or anime or hentai. All of these things that are very popular with kids, the game Fortnite, the game Overwatch, they're all very popular trends and categories in pornography. So an innocent child can be searching for cartoon and end up seeing pornography through no fault of their own. And the predators know that.
I know as a mom, even YouTube Kids, everybody says, put your kid on YouTube Kids, it's safe. It's not safe. I can tell you that from my own experience, it is not safe. My child quickly ended up on something else in just one little click, and he didn't even know what he was doing. So YouTube Kids is not safe. I know you mentioned some websites that could blockers. We can list those in the comments later for you parents to research those. Kimberly, one thing I was told as a mom, and maybe you can speak to this a little bit, when you're talking to your child, and I know parents, sometimes it's hard to call the body parts what they are, you want to call them other names, but one piece of advice I was told by a police officer is to please tell your child the name of the body parts. And Kimberly, do you have anything to add on that? I feel that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Because this is one of the things that a lot of times predators will use, this idea of secrecy, and they'll use code words, and they'll use special names for things. And if a child isn't aware of how to articulate what something actually is, they're not going to be able to articulate when somebody's sexually abusing them or exploiting them or luring them through pornography. And so it is very good advice to talk to your children about the appropriate body terms, body parts, and not give them cutesy little names, because it makes it easier for predators to find a way in, because they're already using code words. And you mentioned YouTube Kids. There's a whole underground network of pedophiles that were using YouTube Kids to trade images of children through their pedophile network. And they would use code words so that people wouldn't know, like, this is what was happening. And it's very common even today through sex trafficking and through exploitation of children to use those code words. And I don't want to mention any of them, but so that law enforcement particularly, doesn't know what they're talking about, and it seems like an innocent exchange. So, you might have, like with YouTube Kids, for example, we had instances of little girls, parents would be posting harmless, innocent little dance videos, and predators and pedophiles were trading those images amongst their network and talking about what they wanted to do to these little children. And the parents had no idea, because YouTube Kids was supposedly safe and age appropriate. And so Congress, actually right before the coronavirus happened, Congress at the national level just had a hearing about fixing app ratings and fixing internet protection so that parents didn't have to go through 27 steps to keep their kids safe. So that it was really the pressure was more on the technology companies to keep kids safe, because it would take one click for a predator to have access to your child, but it would take multiple steps for parents to be able to lock down their social media or their app or their smartphone or their tablet just to keep their kids' innocence protected. And that's not okay. So thankfully, Congress and and our state legislature was actually working on things like that before the pandemic happened. So we're excited about the future in protection of children, because there's good stuff happening.
That's great to know. I know that I'm very cautious about posting pictures of my children, even on Facebook. People ask me why, and it's just because it's so easy for that image to be out there. And once it's out there, you can't control where it goes.
Absolutely. I think that's really wise. And I know that a lot of times parents think that's being overprotective, but let me tell you, I would much rather have you being overprotective of your children than have you have to fight to get, because once those images are out there and they're traded among those networks and your child's been exploited, it is virtually impossible to pull it back. So I would say that's really wise counsel, to be very careful of what you post about your children online, because even among your friend circle, I know on social media, everybody wants to have, how many friends they can possibly have, but do you actually know that person? Or is it possible that they're using you to get access to your children? So be very, very careful, moms.
Yeah, it's a tricky world. It's not the world I grew up in. We just need to be alert, especially those with teenagers out there that are on these apps, or preteens. Mm-hmm. Parents, please watch what your teenagers are posting, your preteens are posting. I know predators use, if your daughter or your son is taking a picture of them and they're in their room and they see a picture like what's behind me, the predators can use that and go, oh, you have a blue whatever, in your room. Oh, yeah, I do. And they're pretending to be a friend from school, and they're not. So be alert, be aware of what your children are doing. Do not give them full access. It is not safe.
Yep. Yeah, so, and we can talk more about that. I mean, the Blue campaign, and there's Human Trafficking Task Force in Colorado that have amazing resources on how to protect your older kids, particularly your teenage daughters and sons. A lot of sons that are into gaming are being exposed because predators are coming after young teenage boys through gaming. And so we could go into a million different directions with this, and I want to honor your time, but I'm happy to share more resources about all of that if you want me to at some future point.
Yeah, that would be great. So what I would like Kimberly to do, and we'll get this done, is I would like her to go ahead and post her website, her information about her books, and then any other resources that she knows about that we can use as parents. We'll get those posted in the comments for you guys so that you can check them out. And then you can reach out to Kimberly through her website too if you have more information. And please know that even though we're both in Colorado, this is not just in Colorado. This is all over the U.S. So don't think you're safe because you just don't live in Colorado. It's everywhere. So parents, thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope this time was worth it. Kimberly, thank you so much for coming on today and spending this time with us. I know this is not a topic we like to talk about, but it needs to be talked about, and we need to have more awareness out there. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Do you have any final words for us?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jennifer. It's been my pleasure. And I want to echo what I started by saying, I didn't have parents to protect me from the dangers lurking online, but I believe that parents are the number one weapon in the arsenal to keep our kids safe. So I applaud you, and I want to link arms with you any way you can, or any way I can. When the pandemic happened, I decided I was going to make my books free. Just until kids were no longer exploited. I just asked for shipping and handling to be covered. So I'll post that link, and I'll share that with Jennifer. But any way I can serve, I have coaching, I have training and workshops and studies and all of that. So I can share all of that with you. But I just want to be able to love and give and serve right now, because I care so much about protecting our little kiddos.
Well, that's amazing, Kimberly. You're doing wonderful work out there, and I know God's leading you every step of the way. So thank you so much again for joining us. And everyone, we will be sure to get those links posted here. Just give us a few minutes and we'll get everything posted for you. We hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday. And moms, we want to wish you a happy Mother's Day tomorrow. We hope your day is filled with lots of love and lots of blessings. Have a great evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.